Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lady Cakes. And let's get right to the news.
But before we start, there are no Andor spoilers from episodes 4, 5, and 6. Yes, from 1, 2, and 3. So what I have here is a article that came out from Rolling Stone where they go into the first 3 episodes with Tony Gilroy kind of digging a little deeper, which is something I always appreciate. Because sometimes you see something and you're like, was this intentional? Was this not intentional? Am I reading it wrong? Or was there more there?
Yeah, I'm always curious how close my takes are to what Gilroy was, or anybody, whenever I deep dive into something, was actually going for.
Alright, so the first question they asked about was the process of breaking up the season, because essentially it is 4 mini-seasons, you could say.
Yeah. It was supposed to be, this was supposed to be 5 seasons, and now the last 4 seasons are being turned into 1 season.
He said, first of all, we'd done a season, so we knew how to do it. We knew what we're into. I also, canonically, have to stick to certain items on the calendar. I have to do Mon Mothma's speech from the Senate on a certain date. Now, there was a lot of mess about the Gorman massacre. There was a lot of confusion in canon about what it meant. It had never been resolved. And beyond all that, we knew where we were ending and where we're going. The next revelation was, oh my god, it would be so cool and elegant and smart if we came back for like a day, 2, 3 days, and really just concentrated on those periods of time. To really help people with the timing thing, if we really came back and said, man, we're just going to drop the needle and move away.
It's very reminiscent of how the movies do it in all reality. I mean, when you think about the movies, they're like a day or 2 days, and
then you
years
leave and
go
you come
by.
back.
Yeah, and you figure out what's going on in the meantime.
Right, because you'll get the subtle hints that they give you in conversation. Yeah. He's good at that. And then they went into the episodes, I was calling them Farmville arc, I think. Yeah. Farm living, farm life, something like that.
Farm simulator, yeah.
So they asked him about these undocumented people working in farms, things that apparently are going to occur later in the season that tie directly to things in the real world. So how much were they thinking about current events when they were writing this?
Years ago? That's would be an impressive feat to know the future.
Tony does say the sad truth is I did not write this with a newspaper. We were sketching this out 4 or 5 years ago. It'd be impossible. I think you'd lose your mind trying to make a gigantic show to catch up with current events. History has its own relevancy, and the repetition and the rise and repeat of history is something a lot of people don't really seem to be aware of. If you go on Wikipedia and look up rebellions and revolutions, it's one of the longest entries I have ever seen. It just goes on, and by the time they get to the 16th century, they just start listing them.
Yeah, you got the idea. This one's going to be very similar to all the other ones that came before. Yeah. History is repetition, right?
He's been reading all of this stuff about revolutions and rebellions and stuff of that sort. So the idea that he came up with something completely unique is even a bit naive, he said. There's that old curse, may you live in interesting times, and I think what's cool about the show is it's about ordinary people, just regular people going about their lives, and all of a sudden history is knocking on their door. So what happens when the stuff comes to your neighborhood? I'm trying to be timeless, really, so any similarity is very unfortunate repetition of all of the stuff that's happened in the past that I'm basing this on.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad commentary on the world when you think about it, because not only is he drawing from countless revolutions before, not that revolutions in and of themselves are bad, usually they're pretty good, I would say. But I mean, it tells how little we learn from history, actually. Because, that we just keep doing the same things over and over again, and that we can look at this show and be like, oh my god, 4 years ago he knew exactly what the future was going to be, when in reality it's just like, yeah, these things happen.
Next, they asked him kind of about Luan, that taste we get of his absolute ruthlessness. He's a complex character, and how this show rests on his tidy little moral lessons somehow. So they asked him, how do you see Luan? He said, every revolution has people like that. What he's told you flat out, he wasn't BSing. I've given everything. I've sacrificed everything. The accelerationist political theory that he espouses is a classic in the repertoire of insurrection and revolution. Make things really bad and up the pressure. That's a legitimate tool. I think that where he fails is the human resources part is really bad. He kind of laughed there. He said, he's so wrapped up by his commitment and by what's happened to him that he finds himself in this desperation to see some sort of activity that he shoots himself in the foot along the way, making things worse. He's not a friend to anyone. He's got no romantic relationship. He's careless with the people he should be taking more care of. He manipulates them in ways that are complicated.
I think he sees everybody as a pawn. Everybody on the board is a pawn to be used in one way or another. There is nothing
Yeah.
special about anyone.
And when you're not careful with them, it bites you and it comes back to hit you. I mean, think of him and Saw. They had such a jovial relationship the first time we saw them in season 1. By the end, when Saw realizes you're just using me, you throw us away, we're just chess pieces, that relationship starts to shift.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping something solid with him where he should be, he's just burning his bridges. Next, they asked about one of, I know, your favorite characters, Thor, Mon Mothma's hedonistic husband, Parn.
Good old Parn.
Yes. They said that he seems a bit more rounded out already this season, that you feel some sympathy for his point of view.
He had a good speech.
In a beautiful speech.
And he does, as you pointed out, he does seem to care about Mon. I don't think he doesn't care about her. I mean, you've been married to her for, 20 years, whatever it is at this point. You probably, whether you wanted to or not, or liked her or not, or anything, you developed some sort of feelings and protectivity of her.
What Tony says is, totally. It peeved me the way that people in chat rooms just hated him and talked about how horrible he was. And I thought...
chat rooms, I'll seek them out. I'll defend Parn.
And I thought that's not what I envisioned. And I told actor Alistair McKenzie, who plays Parn, that we would do some things to complicate it. Parn is clearly no saint, and he's clearly no rebel, but he has a very legitimate point of view, and one that I think the show benefits from having. Why shouldn't somebody represent hedonism? Why shouldn't somebody represent pleasure? Why shouldn't somebody represent living in the moment? What the F is wrong with everybody else who's running around and doing all this other stuff? So, getting to do the wedding speech for him, we really worked hard on that. We really wanted that to be special. I'm very happy that's in there. We'll have Parn suddenly being everyone's favorite. I also wanted to explain...
Not all of us.
I also wanted to explain their marriage. If you get married at 15, and it's two beautiful people, and they're rich and complicated and sophisticated, they've been through all kinds of things, marriage is not a monolith. In the scene where they have the breakfast, and he calls out Tay to her the next morning, I just love the way that Ariel Kleeman directed that scene. I think it's so beautifully directed. I'm just so in awe of the blocking and everything. It was nice on the page, but the two actors and Ari, that scene is just so much about a complicated marriage of people that have had all kinds of trouble, and yet no one else knows their story the way that they do. And the affection that comes from that, and the comradeship that comes from that, is something that the show benefits from.
Yeah, I think they've been a way to look at it is whether they like it or not, they've been teammates for all this time too, right? They're on the same side. They kind of
raised a daughter together.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some common ground there, especially when it comes to their daughter and just how their lives are. So I don't think they hate each other entirely.
Well, they must clearly talk. I mean, neither one of them liked Lita's falling in love with this old ways arranged marriage thing, so they must have chatted about it.
Well, sure.
It was probably a good conversation, seeing as both of them were on the same page.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing, and as he points out, like only they know how they feel about the whole situation and each other.
Then they talk about the amateur rebels that
were
on Yavin. Tony says that when he wrote the opening, he had the woman. It's very serious. We're showing Cassian being a leader. He's doing things for the revolution. You kind of can get that inference that he's been stealing for Luthen this whole time, and the revolution is evolving. He gives a powerful, elegant speech, and then he leaves. Yep, he just flies off and leaves her there. We have no idea what became of her because Luthen doesn't care about people, and he's not teaching Cassian to care about his tools either.
Well, didn't she say she just needed a head start and she was going to get out of there on her own? I thought he did kind of show compassion for her.
But at the same time, we don't really know if she made it out. We don't really know if he waited 12 minutes.
Well, yeah.
We don't know any of that.
Maybe he was supposed to take her with him and she needed like 12 minutes before he went or something. I don't know. But I read that totally differently. Like, she's going to get out on her own. She just needs a little extra time. And that he was like, yeah, well, I got you. Then everything goes wrong and maybe it all fell apart and he was supposed to take her out and he left her.
Yeah.
Because we do know eventually Cassian's going to shoot somebody in the back in Rogue One. So he's going to become Luthen.
But after he finished writing that whole scene and everything, he went to dinner, a big family dinner. His son was there. His niece's husband was there, who is also an actor. And everyone was drunk. And apparently those two, his son and his niece's husband, were like a Heckle and Jekyll all night, just going at it. And then he went to work the next day and he went, you know what? The rebellion has to have some idiots. It just does. Well, yeah. They're everywhere, you know? You can't just have... you know what I'm saying.
Every place
has them.
Group or gathering, whatever it is, has idiots, yeah. Even the two of us, there's an idiot among us. I gladly wear the badge.
So he thought, what would it be like? He wrote those parts for them, and they ended up playing those parts. That's his son and his niece's husband, the two guys on opposite sides, pretty much reenacting some drunken dinner that Tony remembered. He says they're not dumb men. They can behave dumb. They were very entertaining at dinner, so I wrote it for them.
Yeah, I mean, I take it as when things are going wrong, when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, you're stranded on a planet, you kind of resort back to your more base instincts, right? I got to survive first before anything. And you don't necessarily think logically about the person across from you, but like, we could be allies right here. We could just set aside our differences and try to get out of this situation. But instead, we're going to fight and just make things worse.
Next, he did come out and say Darth Vader will not be appearing in the show.
No surprise there.
He says it's because he finds Darth Vader writing for him really limiting, because he's done it before. I mean, Vader doesn't have a lot to say. Yeah, he also says that the Emperor will not be appearing.
That one surprises me a little more. I could have seen like a speech in the background or something.
He said it's kind of like too big of a piece of meat for him to introduce.
Yeah.
And it was too heavy for him to lift. And he was like, yeah, no, this is going to sidetrack all of my show if all of a sudden now there's the Emperor. The story's not about the Emperor.
No, it's about the little people. Even on the side of the Empire, it's about the more underlings, not about the big... Well, I mean, yeah, we have like Krennic and some others, but you know what I'm saying. We don't have the main characters here.
The last thing they kind of talked about was how he did that little blurb speech, you know, when he was walking out of Celebration. Oh, yeah, this is what Star Wars is going in the future and stuff, or whatever. And he said, I don't know, I gotta be really careful. I was riffing in one interview about like a 3-camera show, a sitcom. And there's a lot of irony in that in some chat rooms, it doesn't help to riff about Star Wars. I was kind of goofing a little bit, but I was also legit. I think in the very first conversation with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy way back, she was like, after Rogue One, we could do anything. What could you do? And I was literally like, could you do Inherit the Wind? Could you do a courtroom drama in Star Wars? Why couldn't you? It'd be fascinating. You'd have to invent the legal system, but you could. Why not? It would be interesting. They are doing a horror movie, I think, now. I think Jim Mangold and Beau Willimon are working on that Origin of the Force movie, like a 25,000 BC kind of thing. And anything that works is going to work, and the stuff that's going to be lame is going to be lame. There's no reason not to play with this. I know there are people that feel like, oh my god, why can't we just have the thing we had before and have it be great? And I can't answer that question. I don't know. It's hard to do. People are tired of it. I don't know what the reason is, but there's a lot of real estate there. There's a lot of beings in the universe.
I don't think people are tired of it or that it can't be done again and that it can't be done well. But I mean, if you're trying to just always do the same thing in Star Wars, you're always going to be compared directly to George Lucas Star Wars, which, I mean, yeah, you should be compared to that to a degree. You got to be holding yourself to what has been done. And yet at the same time, like if everybody just came in and tried to do Lucas Star Wars, most of them, 99% of them, are not going to live up to that.
I agree. Wash, rinse, and repeat doesn't always work.
No, especially, again, when the first thing you did was so good, right? I mean, the first Star Wars movie, Empire Strikes Back, those are such good films. It's like, well, you don't really want to try to do that again because you're going to fall short more than likely. I don't know. I could probably talk about this one for a while, but I think that's going to be all we got for you this time. So take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news, and let's talk some Star Wars. And so until next time, thanks for watching.
Unless there's super secret news.
Oh god, I was about to hit the stop button.
You were. So StarWars.com released an hour-long video of Mon Mothma dancing at her daughter's wedding on their official YouTube page. And personally, I just have to say, I love the comment section for the video. Alternate title: 1 hour of Mon Mothma having a mental breakdown. Many Bothans died to bring us this beat. You can't express depression, sadness, and emotional collapse through a club scene. Andor, hold my beer.
Hold my Chandrillan wine with the little worm thing in it.
Squiggle.
Squiggle, that's what, yeah, there you go. Squigs.
Literally Panic at the Disco. The most glamorous crash out I've ever seen. And the Techno Union would be proud. And whoever is running this channel understood the assignment. Seriously though, I've been impressed by the Star Wars YouTube page. First they gave me the entire song from the trailer of Skeleton Crew, and now this. So they're making kind of an appealing channel that could potentially bring in a younger crowd. Plus, it's just good fun. Next, I want them to make a video explaining the rules to Rock, Paper, Rancor.
Is that really what they're calling it?
That's what I'm calling it.
Well, I mean, yeah,
That's
I didn't know if that was like somehow...
It's
yeah.
Rock, Paper, Rancor, because we don't understand what the grrr at the end was. So it's Rock, Paper, Rancor.
It's just two idiots, according to Gilroy, so...
Yep.
I wonder if they played some kind of game of paper, rock, scissors that night, and that's why... I don't know.
They're still paying it to this day.
All right, well, we're done.
For real.
Bye.